Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. We just talked about Miami and the expectations heading into this season. Anthony over here just said he'd be fine with 9 wins. I think that's a good moniker for this team. 9 wins or better is a huge win. Anything below that, you're probably asking a couple of questions. And now we'll get into recruiting. And Kalen DeBoer has been just incredible. It's been remarkable to watch what he's been able to do in a very short time as the head coach of Alabama because every single thing you heard when Saban left was this guy just can't do the job. Was Kalen DeBoer is walking into a situation that is impossible to succeed at. No one wants to fill the shoes of Nick Saban, and frankly, I'm surprised that there were, not as many people wanting to fill the shoes because the infrastructure was incredible, and Kalen DeBoer is showing that in no uncertain terms right now. They're up to the number one class in the country. According to On3, they've signed 4 5-stars, and this is one of them. Caleb Cunningham is a huge wide receiver commit that just got to Alabama. 6'3", 190, a really, really long athletic guy that was really a Mississippi battle for quite some time. It was Ole Miss against Mississippi State, and then Auburn kind of find their way into the fray. This was a very interesting recruitment overall. He was someone that would go on a recruitment visit, that would be his top team, and then he would go on a recruitment visit the next week, and that would be his top team. So kind of a weird swinging pendulum type of recruitment, but Bama gets the commitment, and absolutely huge pickup for Jamarcus Shepard. I think he's building up a class that is going to have to play pretty early on. There's going to be some guys that leave from there at the wide receiver position, and he's doing a great job of making sure that they are absolutely ready for that moment. So I think that's an absolutely huge pickup. And then you got Ty Haywood coming in, a 5-star offensive tackle, 6'6", 300 pounds, just absolutely ridiculous. This dude is someone that, frankly, this was where I worried the most about Kalen DeBoer recruiting. I didn't necessarily worry about the wide receivers or about the quarterbacks or the running backs or really any offensive position overall, but I did worry about the lines of scrimmage. I thought there was going to be somewhat of a disconnect there, and it was going to be a little bit tougher to make that happen, especially with Scott Huff moving on to the NFL, who coached a fantastic offensive line at Washington a year ago. It hasn't been an issue at all. They've done an incredible job. Also added Michael Carroll, who's one of the top offensive tackles in the country as well. So it's just ridiculous what they've been able to do. And Anthony brings up a great point. Obviously, people were worried about the fan base and how they would kind of deal with some of the expectations this year, and frankly that's the biggest thing that I worry about with Bama going into this year is how do the fans handle 1 loss, 2 loss, maybe even 3 losses in the regular season. But that's something we can unpack throughout the season, and Bama's just been on a tear. I mean, they added Ty Haywood, obviously, Michael Carroll, Caleb Cunningham, Dijon Lee is a huge 5-star commit, Keelan Russell is a 5-star over on 247, not on 3, but frankly, he's a 5-star. I'll say that in my rankings, he's a 5-star because the dude is just out of this world good. And when you talk about this staff just doing absolute work, it goes no further than Courtney Morgan. He is so important. He is someone that is just as big of a person for the future of Alabama as really anyone in that building, and he's going to work. He's just done incredible work there and at Washington when he was there, and he's going to be a rising star in this sport. I can almost promise you that. Very interesting guy, and someone that I definitely think can make some noise. So I think, Anthony had a question here. Oh, he's talking about Kalen DeBoer recruiting in the South. Yeah, I think that was definitely a huge worry. I mean, you definitely, when you're coming from over in the Pacific Northwest, that's going to be a tough thing to do. I think the staff he put around him was the real difference. I think adding guys like Kane Womack, keeping Eddie Reese in the fray over there is absolutely huge to kind of create those roots. And at the end of the day, if you are someone that can connect with people, that can sell your vision, you're going to do a pretty good job in recruiting, and Kalen DeBoer is one of those guys. So he definitely did not come in with a lot of the Southern connections that a lot of the other coaches have thrived off of, but some other coaches have done that and have been able to do it, and it really just comes down to being able to sell the vision that you have and be able to sell it really well. But let's move on to some other commitments here and move off Bama here for a second. Jace Thomas is someone that is absolutely a huge pickup. A 4-star safety is committed to LSU. This is a guy that was out of Louisiana. He should not leave Louisiana. That is something that LSU has been struggling with just a little bit over the past couple of years, and they got to get back to just locking down that state overall. So I think one thing I've noticed is since DeCorian Moore has decommitted from this class, it's been all about the defense for LSU. They absolutely attacked the defensive side of the ball and have done an incredible job. So it gives you an idea of how big those staff hires were for for Brian Kelly this past offseason. And it's definitely opened a lot of doors for them. And then you have Quanell Farrakhan Jr., a very, very talented wide receiver. He's committed to Colorado. This is someone that absolutely is going to play very, very early on for Colorado, and I think it's going to be just incredible to watch this guy develop into a really, really good player. And it's something that I've talked about a little bit before, but Colorado's dipping their toe into that recruiting, high school recruiting world just a little bit more every single year. And frankly, I don't think that's going to stop by any means, because I think it is going to be a really, really, really good recruiting world that Colorado's creating up there. But one second here, y'all. Yeah, I definitely think he definitely was not going to have trouble recruiting the offensive skill positions. There's no two ways about that. The defense will be interesting to watch, and Kane Womack will have to carry a lot of weight there. There's no two ways. But at the end of the day, I think they'll be more than fine on both sides of the ball as long as they're doing what they're doing right now, that's for sure. But Taz Williams is someone I want to talk about, a 4-star wide receiver. He's committed to Baylor. He's out of Red Oak, Texas, a very talented kid. And frankly, this was all Penn State. This was a Penn State recruitment for a very, very long time, and then Baylor just stole him. I don't know if anyone saw the quote from Dave Aranda talking about recruiting and why they're doing so well. He said they're paying players, and I don't know that that's what happened here. I'm sure there was more to it than that, but at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do, and that's a huge pickup for him, and definitely gives Baylor fans more to cheer about than they had about 2 seconds ago, that's for sure. And then we have Dalen Upshaw. He's committed to Miami. We talked about it earlier. Miami recruiting is something that is just going to be a huge part of pretty much every cycle at this point. Mario Cristobal absolutely knows how to recruit. There's no two questions about that. And as long as he's in town, as long as Miami is moving in the direction they're moving in, they'll be more than fine and could fill a wide receiver void that they might just have there in 2025. And then you had Michigan just continue to do work. They got in a wide receiver, Philip Wright III. They got him out of Louisiana, which is a wild, wild thing to me. I think when you come into Louisiana and beat out teams like LSU, beat out Georgia, who also had a offer out for Philip Wright, it's just insane. This staff is very much pushing themselves into being a big-time recruiting entity that they absolutely could have been for quite some time, but finally are turning that leaf a little bit more and really doing an incredible job. And then another wide receiver that came off the board was Travis Smith Jr. He's committed to Tennessee. He is out of Westlake High School in Atlanta, actually Cam Newton's alma mater, fun fact there, but a really, really elite wide receiver and someone that could step in for a Squirrel White or for a Brew McCoy next year. Probably more at Brew McCoy, 6'4", 200 pounds. But at the end of the day, a very, very talented kid and someone that Josh Heupel is just going to continue to do work at those skill positions, especially wide receiver. And then we'll get back to T-Rob. The Charvarius Robinson, the safety and co-defensive coordinator over at Georgia, is doing work on the recruiting trail right now. Added Rashad Johnson, a big-time 4-star safety out of Bushnell, Florida. This guy is super, super talented. Someone that absolutely can make some noise. And this UGA back end is already really good. It's going to be scary good in years to come. I can almost promise you that. So very, very excited for that. Yeah, DJ Pickett absolutely could be someone that if Miami picks him up, oh, they're off to the races. There's no two ways about that. That would be awesome to watch, and they're going to have to battle Oregon and LSU down the stretch a little bit here, but I like where Miami's sitting for that one. And then Nick Townsend is a 4-star tight end. He's committed to Texas, a huge pickup for this team, a 4-star or number 4 tight end in the 2025 class. Texas finally has recruiting momentum heading in the right direction. It used to, the last couple of weeks have not been very kind to them, but they finally got a couple of things moving in the right direction. Khalil Lockett also got a crystal ball to them, so finally Texas is finding their even keel and hopefully finding their way to getting a couple of big-time recruits here pretty soon, and Nick Townsend might just be the start of that. And then Tanuke Hines, a very, very talented, very fast receiver, has committed to USC, and he is someone that I think right when Zachariah Branch walks out the door, Tanuke Hines is going to walk in and take over that position. He is so, so fast and someone that absolutely could start immediately. And in that offense that our guy Lincoln Riley runs over there, it's going to be a lot of fun for him. I'll just put it that way. And then we had a couple of scheduled commitments that I want to break down for you all. Jared Smith is someone that's going to be huge for this class. He has decided to make his commitment on August 3rd, so coming up here pretty soon. It looks like it's going to be Auburn. Auburn has been leading with this one for quite some time. South Carolina is definitely pushing a good bit here, but it feels like Auburn's going to win out on this in-state product. 6'6", 250, so just a really, really long athletic kid that absolutely will play pretty early on during his time at Auburn. And then Michael Fasusi is someone we've talked about a lot, an elite offensive tackle, 5-star. He is going to commit on August 21st, so a little bit later down the road, but this guy is absolutely out of this world, the number 12 recruit in 2025. And someone that I think is going to be Texas. Texas has kind of been leading in this one for quite some time. A&M is right there as well. Oregon is pushing quite a bit, but I do think it's going to be Texas at the end of the day unless some team makes a big-time push late in this process. And then Julian Lewis, I feel like, is someone we have to just be watching going forward because he's going to decommit. I feel very confident in that. I think he will not be a part of USC's class, and he might just be finding his way over to Colorado. That feels like the leader right now, although Indiana's making quite a push. So it'll be really interesting to watch this one. I lean towards the Buffs winning out on that one, but it'll be really interesting to watch. And then you got Penn State, and I want to talk about something that's happening around Penn State, and it's something that Josh Pate brought to my attention when I was watching his show. Penn State in 2022 got 6 of the top 11 players in the state. In 2023, they got 4 of the top 10. In 2024, they got 5 of the top 10. In 2025 so far, they have 2. They're number 9 and number 10. And they've lost out on guys like Matt Zollers, Andrew Olish, Michael Carroll, all to out-of-state schools that you don't want coming in. And then you lost to other top 10 players in that state to Ohio State, the team that you want to lose the recruits to the least, if I'm being totally honest. So Penn State's got to figure that out because like LSU, like we were talking about earlier, this is another team that needs to lock down that state. They need to control Pennsylvania recruiting, or it could be a little bit tough to go out and battle those UGAs, those USCs across the country and do some of the things that you're going to have to do if you can't lock down that state. So that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch, not only this cycle, but going forward. Does James Franklin kind of have a problem on his hands locking down the state that should be really easy for Penn State to lock down, if I'm being totally honest? But it'll be really, really fun to watch recruiting blow up. As Anthony said here, we could be having Miami have one of the biggest recruiting days they've had in quite some time here pretty soon, but we'll keep you updated with everything as it happens. But we're going to take our second break here. Third break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the impact freshmen for the ACC. We've made our way through every single other conference, Big 12, Big 10, SEC. Now we're going to get into the ACC and break down some freshmen that I think are just going to be absolutely huge for these teams. So we'll break that down right after this, so stick with us.